All right, we good to go? Well, last Fez night, I told you about my new job, and I was hoping to have been already started. As I said, I had my apprehensions, yeah, because it's going to be different, you know. Like I said, these people seem they're a lot more serious. Well, I got a call the other day that the government contract, which is for the Navy, is requiring one more welding test. Okay, so I went to orientation, got through that, met there's two other guys that are hired at the same time as me, and they seem like good guys. Then we had to go get an eye exam, and the funny thing, the funny thing about the eye exam is that there was one part of the test where, everything keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and they're testing one eye, right eye, left eye, with the glasses, without the glasses, and if you got it wrong, he'd give you one more chance. I guess that's the way they do it. Again, and then you get it right, he moves on to the next smaller one, or the next 3D or whatever, and so I would miss like this number 9, and then he'd go one more, and then I would pass, and then I would pass and pass and pass, and I was guessing, and then at one point he goes, this happened on several of the different things. He goes, "Are you guessing?" And I say, "Yeah." It's like, whoa. So I was getting down to these tiny, tiny ones. I'm just totally randomly guessing. There's top, bottom, right, left. Anyway, you would have had to have been there. So one guy couldn't take the eye test because he was getting a brand new pair of glasses. Apparently, his first pair of glasses ever. Both these guys are pretty close to my age, which is cool. And so that guy couldn't take his eye exam. And then the other guy, who really seems to know his shit, or at least he talks like he knows his shit, he's kind of seemed to be like a little bit like after he took the eye test, not too sure. So what the point is I'm getting at is I'm hoping that I'll be able to start with these two guys. And just one more welding test. I was thinking, oh man, I'd hope to be getting started by now. The longer this drags out, I'm going to be back in trouble again. So anyway. All right. Oh, forgot something. Be right back. Yeah, forgot something as usual, huh? What it was is I was looking for my Fez. I didn't have it over here. I found it. Here's my Fez. Time to don the Fez. Greetings, fellow citizens. This is citizenkong, and welcome to another Fez Night. Tonight's Fez Night shall be called Fashionably Fez. So, about last week's Fez Night and me answering comments. This Google Plus and all this stuff is just weirding me out. I don't understand it. I don't understand how Google Plus works as a social network, like they're trying to be Facebook and YouTube, or there's these circles and different kinds of social networks. I don't get it. And what was going on is I couldn't reply to the comments because I was logged in as citizenkong. Okay, so when you sign out and sign back in, they give you the options, because I kept sticking to my guns. I want to be citizenkong on YouTube. I tried using my real name, David Max Blakeney, for a little while, but I didn't like it. I liked being citizenkong on YouTube. And I couldn't answer the comments. I kept looking for the button and it wouldn't work. So I tried signing out, signing back in as David Max Blakeney. Then I could answer the comments. I don't understand. I know part of it is they're taming the wild, wild west, what used to be the wild, wild west of YouTube, the frontier. and they're making it so they're encouraging people to use their real names, and I could understand why, because as David Max Blakeney on the internet, I have to dial back a lot of things. You know, I have to be careful. You know, for my job, you notice my whiskers are almost gone. I have to be checked out to wear a respirator, and you know, you can't get. If I had a really full thick beard, I wouldn't get any. Anyway, they want. She said like couldn't be any longer than 3 days growth or something like that. But I think I can get away with that. I mean, I would wear my respirator at my old job. The one that I was there for a little over 2.5 years. God, it's been that long. And you know, my whiskers is normally as long as they are. I could still do a respirator check, cover up the inlets, and then breathe in, and then know I was getting a tight seal, tight enough. But anyway, yeah. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, behaving ourselves on the internet. So I could see where that would discourage people from playing games or saying stuff they wouldn't want their friends or parents to see, you know. So I get it, but it's confusing things and it's taking a lot of the fun out of it. It's tamed now. The Wild West is being tamed. Of course, there's ways to get around it. You completely create a completely phony character, and I guess you create a complete phony persona, and be on Google Plus, be on Facebook, be on YouTube with this alter ego. Maybe not show your face, you know, that sort of thing. So I guess, but like I said, I try to keep my Facebook world and my YouTube world separately, but I think it's going to become harder and harder to do, or whatever. So speaking of Facebook, I was on Facebook, and I've been spending a lot more time on Facebook. Okay, I can't help it. As I've said many times before, I don't like Facebook, but now I'm addicted to it because now I check in on it like almost every day. Of course, every day I check in on it several times, many times during the day. And what's going on with that is what's going on with Facebook? What's going? I'm looking at it right now on my iPhone. Facebook. Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about this morning is I call it the echo chamber. I don't think I coined that phrase. It came from somebody else. Sometimes they call it the bubble. It's where, okay, so let's say I'm on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere on the internet, and this is one thing that they worried about before when people started getting all their news sources from the internet. There was talk about this happening, and it happens. I try not to let it happen, but on Facebook, for example, they have this news feed, and you like a page, and then that page will be on your news feed. Well, I end up liking pages that agree with what I believe. And so I'm liked a lot of like liberal politics pages, certain news like salon.com and Slate, which are great news sources. Wonderful writing, wonderful editorials, wonderful stories, except it's left of center. Of course, all the best writing, all the best comedy, everything is always left of center. Anyways, it creates this echo chamber. But still, I am friends with other people that have differing points of view. I don't know whether I should mention these people, but they do come up in my newsfeed. But the more pages I liked, and they have this new thing on Facebook where they recommend pages to you, okay? So then I keep seeing, oh, that's kind of neat. I'll add that to my newsfeed. And what happens is I add all these new pages, and it chokes out like my friends, the people that I know, you know, unless they post a lot. So anyway, Sammy on YouTube, Sammy, who we know on YouTube and Facebook, posted this in her newsfeed. And it's a story about doctor says pubic hair exists for a reason, our obsession with the hairless. Why am I leading with this? I don't know. It just started out because we had like this discussion on Facebook, and Scott Barfly Brooks came and commented on it too. And so basically, the story is that this doctor says pubic hair is there for a reason, and when people shave down there or wax down there, it stresses the skin and leaves it open for certain types of infection. Now, on another note, I saw something a few months ago that in Brazil, um, body crabs, body lice, is like almost gone in Brazil because that's of all the pubic waxing and all that, the Brazilian, you know. And apparently men are starting to do it too. Crazy. Years and years ago, when I was really in my photography phase, I remember doing a photo shoot. I call it a photo shoot like some sort of pro, but a friend of mine who had an attractive girlfriend, and let's say she was my neighbor too. We were friends. We became friends, and she did a lot of stuff with me in my photography. Some of the stuff that got taken off YouTube because somebody flagged it. That asshole. Cretins. I'm dealing with cretins. They don't appreciate art because they were nudes, but they weren't pornographic. They were just simply nudes, you know. And so I posted those on YouTube, and one of my enemies flagged the video and had it taken down. But anyway, see this one behind me there? I don't know if you can see it that well. I'm trying to do like the lighting thing. Does it get dark when I go away? Anyway, there's this one it's a nude of a young woman in a fetal position with a hose coming out of her. That's a dryer hose, you know, for the exhaust on a clothes dryer. Yeah, I was trying to be all creative, so it's like, you know, an umbilical cord and, you know, a fetus, but it's a nude female. Don't ask me what it means. I had a therapist tell me it was about feeling safe. So, and then later I renamed it, I called it Safe. But this gal, who happens to be in this picture here, so we were going to go do this thing downtown. My friend had a friend who had access to a rooftop in downtown San Diego, so it's like a high-rise building, and he had access to the rooftop. We were going to go take pictures down there, and there was two gals that we were going to go, and this gal included. And right before we were going to do it, my friend, she decided to give her a bikini wax, and this gal is a part German, part Portuguese. Basically, we're all mixtures of everything, but essentially she had a German last name. She was like Portuguese on her mother's side or something. And what can I say? Different ethnicities, different groups. Portuguese women are hairy, okay? At least from my experience. Not that I've had a lot of experience, but, you know, some you know, anyway. I don't want to be offensive or racist or anything like that, but just some women, they get the little hair lip. They get the hair on their lip, not a hair lip, you know. I dated a gal who had to use she would use a dilapidatory or a Nair type product. And one day she left it on too long and she got this burn on it. I felt so sorry for her. You know, it sucks the things that women do themselves. This is speaking of hair removal. So, yeah, she had this wax done, and oh man, the poor thing. The skin was just like turned all like lumpy, and there was blood, and it wasn't good. So she would have been better off without the wax. Anyway, it was rough. The thing that people do to themselves, especially women, but men are starting to do it too. I've heard of these men having like ab implants and stuff, you know, to try to look all buff without putting the work in, or at least taking steroids, huh? So, what's the point of all this? I guess we're talking about pubic hair. Yeah, I was talking about the Brazilian. But anyway, so, and I'm of yeah, I'm old, okay? And when I used to where I used to usually a lot of cases were on my jobs I worked with guys younger than me. And you know how guys are. I'm one of those guys. We get together, we talk about women. And to them, the concept of a woman having hair down there is they're grossed out by it, which I don't get. But it's funny how fashions are. They can't imagine things being any other way. You know, there's this one guy just before I left my last job. He was talking about how somebody gave him a pack of playing cards, you know, with naked women on them. And these were from like the 70s. And he said, yeah, they were old school from the 70s. And they started laughing because he was talking about how hairy these women were. And there was hair down there. Oh, speaking of which, so Sammy suggested this would be a topic for Fez Night. Which normally, hey, if somebody makes suggestions for a topic, maybe I'll do it or not. But I just thought I was having a little bit of fun with that. And Scott says, bring back the muff. And then Sammy says, what's wrong with a little mystery? I come in with, I like my women low maintenance. Which, by the way, yeah, I've never dated a woman that did that. Cleaned or completely shaved. Their women that I've dated shave their armpits and shave their legs. For me, I really don't mind an unshaved armpit. Okay, I'm fine with that. Unshaved legs, though, I'm sorry. Just I could live with it, you know, like if we were camping or something. I guess I don't know. It just depends. There was a girl that I had a crush on in high school who was just blonde, and she didn't need to shave because the hair on her legs there was hardly any, and what was there was blonde. You could hardly see it. I don't know. That didn't bother me, but you know, black, whatever. I think most of us get it. Sammy says, comparatively, American women all seemed high maintenance to me. Even the low maintenance friends there wouldn't leave the house without doing their hair and makeup, even for a supermarket visit. Well, I've known women like that, and I call them high maintenance women. My friend who I was talking about earlier, the friend of a friend, the one, not this gal, but the other one that did some modeling for me, we worked together. She she asked me once to ride with her to Jamba Juice because she's one of those like Starbucks Jamba Juice people. Got to go to Starbucks, got to go to Jamba Juice. And so, you know, and we were neighbors. She lived next door at the time. And she says, will you come with me to Jamba Juice? I said, why? Because I don't want to go inside. I don't have my makeup on. And so I rode with her to Jamba Juice and went in and got her order and brought it back out to her car for her. There was another gal that I was involved with that I never saw her without her makeup. And I wasn't like, okay, we were kind of friends, but more than friends. All right, I have to know how to put it. But anyway, so I got an itch here. Sorry. I never saw her without her makeup, and she wore a lot of makeup. And one night, though, we went out drinking and ended up basically crashing out on the same bed. Nothing happened. And the next morning, she was getting ready, and she had to remove the makeup from the night before, and I saw her without her makeup. I said, wow, you look great. Why do you always wear all that makeup? Oh, she got very upset with me. She looked fun. I said, you know what I said? I said, wow. Because she almost went for like this kabuki look. I mean, the makeup she would use, her face was white, very white. And it looked good on her. I thought it worked, you know. But, you know, the first time I met her from afar, she was in photography and I was in photography. And from across the room, I thought, where I grew up, there's, you know, the Mexican gal, the Chola. I thought she was a Mexican girl. No offense to my Chola friends. But back in the day, I don't see it so much. But the Cholas wear really heavy makeup. We always call it like fish eyes, you know. And some of them would dye their hair blonde and just really put the makeup on to make themselves look white, you know, fair-skinned. And usually they'd start out being fair-skinned, but they try to... I thought she was Mexican. but turned out she wasn't. Actually, she was, um, her mother was from Liverpool, but for whatever reason, why am I going into this whole thing? Maintenance, low maintenance, whatever. So I remember saying to her, I said, wow, your skin's actually pink under there. And she's like, but pink like a pig? It's like, how do you turn these things around? But the woman that should not be mentioned almost never wore makeup. I only saw her wear makeup once, was on her birthday, and this is before we really started dating. I was like her friend, and she was going out with friends, and she put on some heels and some makeup, and she was going out to celebrate her birthday. And this is before we were like dating or anything. I was just the neighbor. I was just the friend. And I said, wow, she looked great. But she did not need to wear makeup. I mean, she looked great without makeup. In fact, she never had to pluck her eyebrows. God gifted her with almost like perfect eyebrows that she didn't have to pluck or anything. Women, like when women pluck their eyebrows, they're trying to get eyebrows like she had. Um, anyway, so, and every woman that I've ever dated was never high maintenance like that. If we need to go to the store or something like that, sure, you're going to comb your hair. You're going to take a shower maybe if you stink, but she didn't. The women that I date are not like that. No, and so I stick by that. And not all American women are like that. I don't know, your fairly low maintenance American friends. Um, I'm just saying. She says, maybe make it a topic for Fez Night. And it was late last night. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then Scott says, take a picture, Sammy, and we will be the judge of that. And then Sammy says, you are very naughty, Scott Brooks. And I said, okay, so these are the titles for the Fez Night. Hair Down There Fez Night, or Pubic Enemy Fez Night, or Not Now, I'm Right in the Middle of a Frenchwoman Fez Night. So I'm not going to name a whole Fez Night after this topic. Sammy liked Pubic Enemy Fez Night. And a couple of other friends commented in there, but they're not funny. All right, so that's that. Yeah, what was I earlier talking about living in the echo chamber? I try to get some outside opinions still, but we have to be conscious about it. At least I think about it. There are plenty of people on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, in the United States that do not care to get their information from any other source. There was some group that said that if people, some study, and we know how we feel about studies, but that said if once a person stops watching Fox News or listening to Rush Limbaugh and all that, opinions start to move left on their own. Without that, people tend to be, and in fact, I've seen this happen. There was a friend of mine that I worked with, a young guy. He was just going to San Diego State, and he called himself a conservative. He thought he was conservative, lived in East County, thought he was conservative, thought the whole thing. And then he started taking a political science class. And during the political science class, they gave everybody a test, a survey, and click off these boxes on your opinions and all that. Turned out he was left of center. When these people that call themselves conservative, because liberal has become such a bad word, that they do not want to be associated with being liberal or leftist. But when they are truly asked what they believe, they find out that they're not under the political science category of conservative. Maybe they're fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I mean, in many cases, I've met people like that call themselves conservatives, but really what they were fiscal conservatives. Then, of course, there's always the people who say, I don't want to be pigeonholed. Don't tell me what I am, So, yeah. So, I should get off this, but what was I going to say? I was going to look at my Twitter feed. I do these tweets and stuff. Should I look at? Okay, I'm going to look at the Twitter feed. I'm approaching a 1,000 tweets here pretty soon. I've got, wow, 997. I've got 997 tweets on Twitter. So this is the last one I posted. It says, let's not jump to conclusions, being a little bit facetious there. I thought this was interesting. It says, only 6% of scientists identify themselves as Republican. And this is the Pew poll, P-E-W. And what they're finding is the GOP is alienating scientists to a startling degree. Only 6% of American scientists identify themselves as Republicans. 55% call themselves Democrats. Okay, come on, scroll. This thing's stuck. It doesn't want to scroll. Here we go. By comparison, 23% of the overall public considers itself Republican, while 35% say they're Democrats. So you see, in the world of scientists, the relationship is even, the difference is even more. 9% of scientists said they are conservative, while 52% describe themselves as liberal. This guy says these results were not a complete surprise. He said they can mostly be attributed to the difference between Democrat and Republican parties with respect to issues. And those of us that pay attention know that all the creationists, all the global, the climate change deniers, what else? Evolution, creationism, climate change. Those people are in the GOP, tend to be. Oh, and also during the Bush administration, they did a lot against science, like bad stuff. Like messed up with studies and things like that. Squelched studies. I think it was George Bush the father squelched a Republican, squelched a marijuana thing. They sent these scientists to try to find evidence that marijuana was harmful so they could use that as propaganda in the war on drugs. And when the scientists came back and said, we can't really find that much wrong with it, they squelched the study. So, and then also scientists tend not to be religious. Now, I consider myself a believer, but I don't see that from my personal view. I don't see that at odds with science myself. They're two different things. Science does not involve faith, and science covers everything in our real and our tangible world. And for the parts that science doesn't know yet, I'll leave that out there. So I thought that was interesting. And there was an interesting story about Ayn Rand. You see it looks like Ayn, A-Y-N, but it's pronounced Ayn Rand. The Russian woman that came to the United States and wrote Atlas Shrugged. Good article on Salon.com. The title was Ayn Rand's Vision. I think some people say Ayn Rand, but I'm pretty sure it's Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand's Vision of Idiocy. Understanding the makers and takers. Great article because in Ayn Rand's world, there were the people that actually made things, like your captains of industry, and she included artists in that. The ones that actually create art, things like that. But I think putting artists and captains of industry in the same category, that's messed up too. That's not the same thing. Completely different motivation. Unless you're somebody like Kincaid, then you're like a capitalist first and an artist second. If you can call him an artist. Thomas Kincaid, I believe that's his name. Just crap. Crap for money. The guy got really rich. He's dead now, right? Yeah. He's also one of those evangelical Christians too, but a major hypocrite. I think he got drunk and peed on a statue of Donald Duck or something like that. One of a Disney character. I can't remember what it was. And so in Atlas Shrugged, which I did read, it's not a great read, but it's really thick. It's a thick book. And so all these people that are the movers and shakers and the captains of industry decide to say, screw you, because they paint the government and the rest of us as all people that want. Gimme, 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 and we don't want to work. And so all these people that actually do things basically stop doing what they're going to do, stop doing their thing, and society collapses. It's been so long ago that since I read it, all I remember is stuff about John Galt and copper mines. And I remember when I read the book, which is funny, when I was reading the book, I was on a train trip, and Atlas Shrugged deals a lot with railroads and stuff. Complete coincidence. I did not realize when I picked it up that it was going to be talking about railroads so much. And in there's these copper mines. And I remember at the time reading the book, I said, well, Ayn Rand's vision is really, really bad for the environment. If people just stuck with the whole Ayn Rand philosophy, there's no allowance for saying that we need to be careful about using up our natural resources. It's all like the planet is there to exploit. That's it. Nothing about, like, even farmers understand. You can't like overplant your land with the same crop over and over and over again. You'll kill the soil. You have to do things to nurture, you know. And it applies, I'm the environmentalist and all that stuff, and so I remember thinking that, and I think also Kurt Vonnegut Jr. said that Ayn Rand doesn't allow for children and old people. So basically, it's a vision where if you don't have anything to contribute, then you are, I don't know if she has any plan like exterminating them or something like that, but you're not part of the whole thing. It's like, get out of the way. Don't take. Just stop. Go starve somewhere or whatever. And so they make the interesting point is that today's rich, today's top 1%, they're not the makers, they're the takers, and it makes an excellent point on that. And so you could look at my Twitter feed on you can find me on Twitter under David Max Blakeney on Twitter if you're interested on that Ayn Rand story on Salon.com. And there was a Huffington Post, was for the scientist thing. And there was this thing on racism. So anyway, yeah, I'm in the bubble, I'm in the echo chamber. So I see a lot of stuff on racism and a lot of stuff on the environment. And this is an interesting story. Is this the new David Duke? So there's some young guy, he's 22, his name is Matthew Heimbach, and he's the rising white nationalist star, just as eager to get in bed with the graying Southern secessionists as he is with steel-toed, boot-wearing neo-Nazis. Over the past few months, he has rallied with the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan at the invitation of Tom Robb, a Christian identity pastor. Christian identity. It's so funny how the Ku Klux Klan and a lot of these groups identify themselves as Christians. And I was reading an interesting thing on a Salon.com story about the disenfranchisement, is that the right word, of the white male in the United States of America, and how these neo-Nazi groups, these anti-Jew organizations, all these are starting to get, during bad times, that's when these right-wing organizations start getting a foothold. And also leftist, Boy, we had a real turning point. We were so lucky we had Franklin Delano Roosevelt as president, because the United States had some real strong fascist movements here in the United States. And the leftists, but the leftists were like people like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. There were a few extreme like anarchists and things like that that would probably be considered left. But for the most part, the Depression hit us pretty hard, and the working class started leaning left because they're like, what's the difference between today's working class who leans right and the working class in the past that leaned a little bit left? I don't know why. I don't know. I would have to look into what differences were happening back then. But maybe it has something to do with the Cold War and the whole McCarthyism thing that hit the United States. So anything called left is bad. Um, but if you listen to like Woody Guthrie wrote, "This land is my land, this land is your land." It's a very egalitarian. It's a very like notion that we are all Americans. That we are created equal. You know, whereas the other side says that no, the captains of industry, people with money, are better. And there's even this notion among these evangelicals that if you're rich, that you're good because God is blessing you with the money, which goes opposite of Christ's teachings. And this is our theology lesson on this Sunday morning. Anyway, I'm in the echo chamber, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing all the time. And maybe I need to get some. I did sign up for a sign up. I did like a page about something like something truth. Beware of anything where they say we're the truth, but this has some like radical things that are not mainstream, and some things I will agree with, and some things I'm not. But I take this site with a grain of salt because some of the things I saw sounds like conspiracy stuff to me. Things that I don't quite buy. There was an interesting story about the Israel and the Palestinians, and it's interesting to me to see the other side how they view this stuff. How afraid they are of Zionism. I don't know. I'd really say if the Jews had some master plan to control the world, then why did the Holocaust happen? I mean, if they were in such control. Of course, there's probably an explanation for that. They probably have an explanation. But yeah. And I ramble. All right, it's almost 40 minutes. YouTube. Pubic hair. Did I finish what I was going to talk about pubic hair? Besides the risk of infection from all the shaving and hair pulling and all that, pubic hair does serve a purpose. It serves to eliminate friction. So where we have our moving parts. This friend of mine used to say bumping uglies. I heard that was great. Bumping uglies. And then for this generation that considers everything shaved and hairless to be important, they were going to lose great expressions like bearded clam and fur burger. Okay? I'm awful, aren't I? There was one more thing. I remember reading an article where it was on the internet, and people ask questions, and some young person was asking, like, what is the purpose of pubic hair? And it's there for a reason. But and I remember her being a female, and didn't strike me quite as a science or knowledgeable person, but she was there to answer questions. And she came up with the idea that there might be a little something to this, but how we're attracted by pheromones and things like that, and even on on a very subtle level, if it's not too strong, if it's too strong, then it's stinky. But on a subtle subconscious level, smells influence us and makes us attracted to each other. I think it works more for women. Women will choose a man based on the smell more than a man will choose a woman based on the smell, but it does work both ways. And that the pubic hair was there to have the smell congregate, hold the smell. For me, no, it's the friction thing. Which doesn't explain why we have hairy legs, though. And not that that's exactly, no, but that's not pubic hair, is it? No, we're talking pubic hair, which is armpits and, groin area. All right, maybe I shouldn't get my topics from things that are posted on Facebook. Anyway, all right, so I'm hoping I need to start getting a paycheck. Anyway, for this welding test, I will be paid. So I'll get paid for a couple hours. I got paid for orientation. But that only barely got like a day's worth of work in. And then when it does start, there's supposed to be a heck of a lot of overtime. And I might end up working. One of the guys is real excited about it. He wants to get us on the night shift. I have the feeling that these new hires are going to be like a team that's going to work on this project separate from what other guys are doing, which would be kind of cool. And I'm hoping, knock wood, touch wood, that that everything works out with these two guys because I think I could work well with them. One guy's like me, a little bit like not so confident because this is a new type of thing for him as it is for me. Whereas the other guy seems a little overconfident, but he's worked all kinds of different jobs involving welding, from shipyards to whatever. And and the way they run things at this company, as far as the time clock and the time cards and all this paperwork system that they use, he's familiar with that, whereas I'm not. And that's, for me, some of the hardest part for me to learn, really. I could learn welding or learn a skill like that easier than I can figuring out paperwork or remembering to cross the T's and dot the I's, Oh, I have such a hard time. I have like this mental block against it. So anyway, I'm excited. Oh, the reason I called this Fashionably Fez, finally, is the Doctor Who 50th anniversary special or whatever is going to come out this month. I post on Facebook. There's the return of the Fez. Not only is Matt Smith, the actor, his Doctor Who, going to don the Fez, which is the 12th Doctor, I believe, and David Tennant. There's a picture of him on the web with wearing a Fez. So, Fashionably Fez. To me, I get a kick out of seeing, you know how it is. It's sort of like that synchronicity thing. You hear a word, and then you start hearing it, and then now I just start noticing Fezes. And I'm not, and Victoria Price said the same thing, and it's the way it happens, isn't it? So I get a kick out of seeing when I'm watching television or see some picture or poster or something, and there's the Fez. As Carl Jung called it, the collective unconsciousness. The Fez is an icon. I forgot what the different words are he has for the collective unconscious. He has words for them. God, I can't remember. There's symbols and things that stick out that are common to all of us, no matter what culture, what part of the world you were born, what color you are, ethnicity. Carl Jung believed that in the collective consciousness that there are these things that we all have in common that are universal to human beings. And these are the things that pop up in our literature, in our art, in our dreams. And the Fez, an icon of the collective unconscious. If anybody's still fresh on their psychology, I can't remember those names, but there's the different names for the different things in the collective conscious. But at least I know how to pronounce Carl Jung. All right, everybody. Have a great week, and thank you for watching Fashionably Fez. Did I do that out of wrong? This is Citizen Kong. Thank you. Did I do that out of order on that? This is Citizen Kong, and thank you for watching Fashionably Fez. Have a great week. Cheers.